Hello, my name is Paul Hodgins. I'm the founder and publisher of Culture OC, an arts and news website that exclusively covers the arts and culture in Orange County. With me today are a very distinguished panel of arts leaders in Orange County. Oh, and by the way, we're celebrating Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month, which is a month of advocacy in April throughout California to celebrate and acknowledge the importance of arts and culture in communities large and small throughout California. So in that spirit, Culture OC has gathered together some very impressive people today, and I will introduce them. To my right is Patrick Bryan, Chairman and CEO of Arts Orange County, which is an advocacy group for the arts in Orange County. Next to him, John Forsythe, President and CEO of Pacific Symphony, which has a shiny new music director, everyone's very excited about. To my left here is Genevieve Williams, who just founded and opened a GW Gallery in Laguna Beach at the end of 2025. And next to her is David Ivers, Artistic Director of Tony Award-winning Regional Theater South Coast Repertory. So welcome all of you. I'm so glad to have you here with me today. So I'm going to jump right into it with I think the toughest question. Let's get that over with first, okay? So I've sent you all these questions too, so these shouldn't come as a surprise to any of you. So I want to talk about the last 5 years and the next 5 years, okay? So the road ahead of us and the road just behind us, there have been some challenges. The arts have endured a roller coaster ride since about 2019, 2020. Unprecedented challenges such as the pandemic, of course, economic turmoil, politics, technological changes, and I think that's really affected our interaction with the arts in general. How can we combat that? What do we do to rise to those challenges and negotiate the changed landscape? What rewards and positive trends have come out of it, and how is that going to affect arts and culture in the next 5 years? Who wants to start? How about you?
No problem. I have 60 seconds to solve it, right?
Take your time.
No, first of all, thanks. It's great to be here with all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the first thing when I heard you say last 5 years, I immediately thought of the musical.
That's where my brain last 5 years.
But add to it like a racial reckoning in the country, right? A call to action in regional theaters, particularly to really be lifting, deservedly so, underrepresented communities, both on the stage and in the ecosystem of our work. And at the same time, this really important aspect, which I think is likely important to all of us, which is who do we embrace and continue to embrace that is part of our legacy and is coming, right? I try not to forget my mom in these circumstances, that there are people that really helped found some of these organizations. I know John and I have a similar legacy and in terms of the organizations being around for a while. And so it's really making sure that I believe that our art and our work and our ecosystem of relationships are reaching a hand out to every aspect of our community. And so that means that that's the first conversation before we're going to do last 5 years. What are people actually interested in coming to? Where are we not providing opportunity where there might need to be opportunity? And it's a lot of conversations and a lot of meetings and a lot of thorny stuff. That may also be part of the reward too.
Yeah. John, are changes being reflected in your programming? How are you tackling these challenges?
Well, I would just go back to the pandemic and say that one of the most moving aspects of coming out of that was as people returned to live performances, number one, they reflected on how much they missed the gathering, and that's an irreplaceable experience for a lot of people. The habituation changed. So longtime subscribers who were buying very large packages, in many cases gave them up or started coming with less frequency. And that is a business model issue, which is different than the art making issue. But as we look forward, I think we're gradually rebuilding the audience, rebuilding that energy. We're seeing a lot of younger people, and some of that is reflective of Alexander Shelley's energy, our new artistic and music director.
And the fact that he's very plugged in terms of social media.
He's plugged in, and he's also making himself very accessible. He's spent an hour and a half every night, 6 concerts in a row in the lobby, just greeting patrons and talking to them. And I don't remember a conductor that's spent that kind of time. And I think one of the other aspects of the post-pandemic investment was being hyper-local and bringing, we created a mobile stage called Symphony on the Go, and just pocketing ourselves all over the county to remind people that live performance is accessible. It's, taking the barriers down. It doesn't mean that they all translate into paid audiences, but we're not always perceived as some transactional institution. And I think that's an important takeaway for us. But Alexander's particularly interested in thematic programming and telling a story through music. For those who are less familiar with the legacy and the history of music, storytelling is one of his great strengths, and I think that'll help build audiences.
Genevieve, what role does technology play, do you think, in how things have changed and how they might change going forward?
Look, I think technology is having a massive impact, but at the same time, nothing replaces that in-person experience and that engagement. And I think post-pandemic, audiences are looking for that experience. So they want to come in and feel something. And I think that applies to all of the disciplines within the arts. So I think technology has great benefits. I think it's increased the outreach and the awareness, which is a really great thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think post-pandemic, the experience is key. I think the interesting thing, looking at the last 5 years and looking ahead to the next 5 years, is how do you get that next generation in? I think that's a really key part of what we're all trying to do in our own areas. I think we're at this transition where the next generation are coming through in terms of the leaders in the arts organisations, but we're also looking at the next generation in the audience. So I think that's a really key thing that we're all trying to address right now. I
agree. Patrick, your organization sort of oversees and advocates for the arts in Orange County. Can you think of any general trends that have happened in the last 5 years that are really influencing all arts groups across the board?
I think that people are being drawn more towards partnerships, collaborations, that groups are seeing opportunities in coming together rather than, as opposed to the past, where oftentimes people would think of other organizations as threats to their existence or to their ability to thrive. Now, one of the things that we do at Arts Orange County is convene leaders in the arts, and they find opportunities in these convenings to see the future together. And I think that the future can be seen as being stronger together than separately. That's something that I'm seeing as different. And I think that's a very positive change. You talk to owners of hospitality establishments, and they always say, oh, I would love to have a corner that has 4 different hospitality establishments. And yet, in the past, if somebody said, oh, I don't want another theater in town. But now we're seeing the benefit of that. Now we're seeing South Coast Repertory and Pacific Symphony not only sharing the same Segerstrom campus, but here in the same studio, building off of one another. Genevieve, email that went out for the talk with the author tonight, that's saying, hey, and afterwards, join us as we walk across the street to the Laguna Art Museum. That's cool.
We've already started talking about my next question, but let's plunge in. Making diversity part of regular programming. A lot of special events certainly highlight our county's diversity. How can we move beyond festivals and one-offs, once-a-year celebrations, to create a year-round sustainable platform or series for underrepresented artists and constituencies in Orange County? We all know what the demographics are here, and sizable Asian and Hispanic populations. You want to start?
Yeah, I don't believe in one-offs. I don't think you'll find it in our season. Next question. I mean, I believe in a global offering. I take my cue first and foremost from the fact that very few people would know this by looking at me, but I'm first generation American. My father was born in the Jewish ghetto in Montreal. My mother's British, right? Came from nothing. So that's very different than the communities that surround us. But principally, there's some DNA there that I deeply respect. And I grew up in Southern California, so I had the great privilege, in a way, of being immersed in a lot of cultures, which meant exposure to a lot of access points. Some difficult, some extremely privileged. And so to me, we're greater than the sum of our parts, and so are our stories. And I believe, and our staff at South Coast Rep would tell you, that for us the answer to diversity isn't jamming white artists or white community inside of the Western canon. It's having work that's actually sprung from the community by which we are trying to represent.
Yeah, and SCR's done a commendable job over the last.
Well, there's nothing commendable about it.
Commendable compared to.
That's the defining point.
Compared to some other arts groups I know,
Yeah,
commendable.
I mean, I hear you, Paul. It's like a basic, basic principled value. And as a dad too, I want my kids to go. That's my dad.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Anyone else want to jump in?
I mean, I don't think it's either or. I do think there's some amazing cultural celebratory moments that we've had that have been really hard to put together. I mean, they're massively complicated to bring Iranian musicians and their notation, their language, their rhythmic with Western classical musicians and figure out, and you need bridging talent to do that. So there's that excitement that comes from that. It's pretty creative. But then, then there's embedding composers of different tradition in the orchestral life and partner curators, who bring completely different insight to the stage. The thing for orchestras is that we're so expensive. I mean, we're talking about 70, 80 professionals who have to rehearse, concert hall rentals, labor expenses. So the one-offs are a big undertaking. They six-figure investment of philanthropy to pull one off. So it would be, we don't want to ignore that opportunity because I see the emotional reaction of the audiences when we have these events. As differentiated from commissioning a work of an Iranian composer for traditional symphony orchestra, Western notation. They result in different outcomes for the audience, and I think they're both artistically valid. But just more integration of different voices, I think, helps a lot.
Let's move on to the next question. It's about spreading culture around. So we're seeing major new developments that integrate arts venues, OC Vibe, what's happening in downtown Santa Ana and Anaheim and other places. So how can we ensure that arts and culture are an integral part of the mix rather than something that's added on as an afterthought? How can we better integrate arts and culture into the county's broader strategic plans and bring the arts to parts of the county that aren't as blessed as Costa Mesa, City of the Arts, Laguna Beach, et cetera? You want to start?
Oh, hot seat. Look, I think if you're talking in terms of like development, arts should be there at the beginning of the conversation. I think the art can kind of sometimes be the last piece of the puzzle. There's a really incredible artistic community here in Orange County. So if you're developing those other areas that are kind of lesser served currently, bringing artists and creatives into that conversation at the beginning, I think is really critical.
Patrick?
I think that it's all about listening. I think that if you listen to the community, they're going to tell you that this is something that they want. And if it's the voices of the community, then the elected officials and the developers are going to wind up listening as well. But it has to start organically. If you come in and you say, you know what, we're going to build a performing arts center here because that's what you want. It may not be exactly what the community wants. They may come up with something that's different, and you have to listen to and appreciate and respect that. And there are ways then to weave in the arts, because that will happen organically. And you see that in communities throughout the country and the world. In St. Louis, at one point, they said, we're going to build an art center. And the community said, well, actually, we'd kind of prefer a basketball court and someplace to sit. And so they said, oh, okay. And they did. And then people started just coming, and these picnic benches and tables, they started teaching art classes. They're for free. And these kids started coming over from the basketball courts and saying, what are you doing? And they would engage. And so it wound up becoming this thriving arts community as a result of that.
Moving on. Legacy versus reinvention. So a lot of institutions like South Coast Rep, Pacific Symphony, and others, Segerstrom Center, they balance what I would call legacy works, works of the Western canon, for want of a better term, with world premieres and risk-taking works. How do you cultivate an audience in Orange County that's as excited about the new stuff as the traditional stuff? And John, you and I both know that there are certain symphony goers who only want to hear the classics, the composers whose names start with B, and the new music is confined to the first 10 minutes of the program. You know the setup. How do you break out of that mold? I'll let you start.
I'm not sure I see the same concerns from our audience as that maybe 20 years ago. I think Carl St. Clair cultivated a lot of interest and trust in the composers he selected, whose language was diverse, but I think more approachable.
Right, Kelly.
Yeah, and even Michael Doherty, whose work about Amelia Earhart we're performing in the coming week. And I think composers have changed a lot, particularly in the U.S., and we've recorded a lot of it.
Changed how?
The language is just fused with more contemporary vibe, energy, rhythm than maybe we heard in the mid-century.
More accessible.
Yeah. But I think undoubtedly there's a desire to hear the traditional repertoire, but the fact is that a lot of that is new. I mean, more of our audience is unfamiliar with all of it, and it's very fresh. Yeah. So to say, we're doing all 9 Beethoven symphonies with a conductor who I think actually approaches Beethoven really in a fresh way. So you can reinvent the traditions, as does, I think, theater, when you make casting choices. And so it's not so categorical. I have a term called lost but not forgotten, and it's a lot of repertoire that doesn't get played anymore. And I think it needs revival. It was played in the 50s, it was recorded in the 50s, and it's lost. So just being more open to diversity of programming, thematic content, like organizing it around a common theme like nature, just to be simplistic, but that can really help audiences see how 18th century works relate to 21st century works.
I loved Shelley's Firebird with the visual component. The story was told as you heard the music. It was great.
Yeah. And it was provocative to people. Some people don't like a visualization, but I'd say the majority did. So yeah, I think there are all sorts of ways. We just can't be anchored in absolute traditions. And also the length of concerts, the sequencing of works can change an evening. The upside down program that ends with a short new work can be a very exciting way to end a concert. So I don't worry about the vibrancy on the stage. What I worry about is the business model and how expensive it is to put music on the stage. And really, at this point, 70% of our income are annual gifts. And the big shift is the nature of the large donor to the widespread smaller contributor, and we have a lot of small contributors, but those very generous patrons who have been giving 6-figure, sometimes 7-figure annual gifts are less common in my experience. I don't know if you see the same thing.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah.
You said something I think is really key, John, which is this notion of trust. SCR, South Coast Rep, 63 years, right? I had a board member at an annual lunch not too long ago, a couple years ago actually, say something that's just stuck with me, which was in his first 30 years of being a subscriber, getting tickets in an envelope in the mail, you know, he reached a point where he would open them up and didn't matter what the title was. He knew that he could trust whether he agreed with it or didn't agree with it, it would be excellent. And that's reflected actually, those words almost verbatim in my latest program letter, which is our goal is to reach artistic quality that you cannot quibble with. So then you're quibbling with the business model, you're quibbling with, did this reach my taste or not? But there's no level of equivocation on quality. And so that helps us focus to address the very issues that you're speaking of. Once quality is at a consistent, excellent level, which has been very difficult coming out of these, for your first question, 5 years, rebuilding a staff, rebuilding an audience, finding experience and offering new opportunities for those with less experience. So how first is job one to get this thing on the stage at a world-class level per our center and per our centers of other partners in the arts.
Building trust in the brand.
Yes, I will say that, and I would say the other thing is key is partnership. We have found when we have partnership inside of communities, Farhang Foundation is one of them, love them beyond belief, that those communities show up. They are desperate in ways, and we are desperate to have all of our citizenry see themselves in the work. So when that work is both excellent and it has partnership and community, I'll just say it, ticket sales go up, you know? And that's an extraordinary, multi-pronged feeling. It's not just a sense, it's several. So I'm inspired, I'm really inspired by that, and that's what we're after.
Moving on, creating future artists. So there are programs in existence now, Artist of the Year and the Creative Visions Teen Curators program in Huntington Beach that are training and encouraging the next generation of artists. What is the biggest hurdle that these young artists face in staying and building careers here in Orange County? Do we even want them to? I hope we do. What are the best reasons for staying here? Genevieve, why don't you start?
Look, I moved from Australia in 2015, so I've been here for 11 years, and I have been very intentional about forging a career here in Orange County, and that's something that I've been really proud of.
And why did you decide on Orange County?
It's a beautiful place. I think it's a great lifestyle, it's a beautiful place, it's an incredible community, and it's got a really rich artistic, lineage and activity going on. So when I first moved from Sydney, I was based in Huntington Beach, thinking that I would have to commute to LA because my assumption was LA is where all of the activity is, that's where the museums, the big galleries, and I was really pleasantly surprised to discover that there were great things going on in Orange County. I think for the next generation coming through, there has to be the career opportunities here to keep them here. There's got to be mentorships, internships, exhibition opportunities for artists. So all I can say is that I'm trying to play my part in that. So now that I founded the gallery, I'm offering those internships and mentorship. There's a congressional art competition for high school students, and I'm actually offering to host one of the districts. I'm having the exhibition happen in the gallery. So the high school students will be able to come in, see their artworks on display in a professional gallery setting. Their parents can attend. That's a really incredible opportunity. I know for me as a high school student, I had a similar opportunity, and that encouraged me to forge my career in the arts. So moments like that will keep people invested and excited and to stay here. So,
Patrick, your organization has a vested interest in keeping artists in Orange County. What's Arts OC's position on this?
Well, I'm going to use myself as an example. I went to Chapman University back when it was still called Chapman College, and I got all of my first professional opportunities right here in Orange County. And I went off and I did theater, that was my background, all over the world. So I left, but I came back. Originally I came back to California and I was running the Riverside Arts Council in Riverside County, our counterpart out there. And yet here I am in Orange County. There is a siren's call. And I think that there is so much creativity, there is so much artistry, there is so much aesthetic excellence, and there's so much curiosity that is what is going, if we can help feed that, that's what's going to keep people here in Orange County instead of sending them off to places where they may or may not find the same.
I mean, I'm going to just chime in with the cost of living factor is completely gigantic.
We're going to talk about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So the next question actually is
But let me just chime in
Oh,
on
sure.
a different point, which is
Yeah.
that I think that higher education institutions like Dodge School at Chapman or Claire Trevor, I think they can do a better job educating someone like me about the journey that students are making out of college and how we construct our experiences inside the staff so that they're actually getting the really high quality internship experience. I think there just has to be a little more dialogue amongst educators and frankly the students themselves about what they're interested in so we can be a little more adaptive.
Yeah.
Because I think we tend to think of arts administration as sort of static experiences that we're going to show them, and I think we have to evolve with a younger generation of leaders as they're thinking about the arts very differently than we are. So there's a little reverse mentorship I would think would be helpful.
You've trained generations of excellent theater artists at SCR. Is it a concern of your company to keep them around or not?
I mean, yes. I will say I'm really entrenched in this right now. I've been to UCI a lot. I've met with a lot of people. We just have this UCI Next Stage program we've launched. I just had the greatest blessing of sitting with 2 second-year MFA acting students for a couple hours in my office, just the three of us, to download exactly what you're talking about, John. And as a young man, as a person who got my MFA in acting at the Guthrie Theater in the University of Minnesota, that university for me said things like, "Go, don't stay, go, and then bring back your gifts to the community." Now that's a different time, right? I will say the thing that I learned that is shocking and perhaps in the cost conversation is important, and in this part is that I just sort of learned that to take a grad student through an MFA in acting or directing or design costs the UC system about what that artist can expect to maybe make in their first several years as an actor or director on the stage. So when you're looking at this, which is not totally my lane as an artistic director, but I'm deeply concerned about these kinds of things. So how do you present that ROI to a UC system and say, yeah, you should invest this much money in this? It's a very difficult proposition, I think. So my feeling is that there's no one path, especially for artists, right? So what are we going to do while they're here, while students are here, while artists are here? What focus and rigor can we give and support, inspiration, while they're with us, either through an MFA program or in the community, and then hope that some artists will continue to return after they're successful.
Yeah.
And it's a big part. It's under scrutiny right now for us.
It's interesting that my head went to arts administrators and yours went to the artists, which is great. I do think for orchestral musicians especially, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of schools of music in this country that aren't necessarily producing musicians who are going to be in a position to win a position in a major symphony orchestra. It's like Michigan, Curtis, Juilliard, there's a handful that generate. So, when I talked to Tiffany Lopez at Claire Trevor about, so what kind of orchestral musician are we creating? What's the gifts that they're going to bring to the community long term, and their role in education and advocacy and incubating new forms of live art, or it's a different curriculum than it used to be, just perfectionism on the instrument.
And will they be able to afford to practice their art here?
Exactly.
I mean, the arts are a $507 billion industry in California, and yet many communities are places where artists can't afford to live.
Huge challenge.
Which is maybe a question we won't dive into here in the interest of time. I'm going to move on to the last question, and it's a little self-serving, so please forgive me in advance. It's about arts journalism and its role. How do you think arts journalism fits into the greater arts ecosystem here, and for that matter elsewhere in the country? And what happens when quality arts journalism disappears? as it has in so many communities, can it be revived in a substantial way? Do arts groups play a role in this? Will it help the health of your organization and the arts community in general if arts journalism is revitalized?
I'll jump in on that. I think that people have to know about what's going on. Otherwise, they can't go to it. And with the absence of quality arts journalism, you look at a newspaper, it's not there. So where are people getting their information? Culture OC, online platform. A lot of professional journalists are here with Culture OC telling the story. The story needs to be told. You can't, as an arts organization, take out an ad. Nobody's going to look at it. It doesn't carry the same weight if you place an advertisement. If you hear somebody's voice saying, this is why this is important, this is why this is interesting, that's what drives people to attend. And so that's why I think that arts journalism is important. It is a reflection of the people's voice.
Well, and it also underlies the amount of education and training you have. You know, there's this skepticism about experts today that is really challenging. I mean, I certainly read Yelp for restaurant reviews, but when you write a restaurant review, you're coming at it with not only a love of the cuisine, but just a flair for expressing what the food can mean and how it's presented. And I think you're like missing a whole emotional world without great writers. And sometimes critics are really provocative and don't agree, but they often affect the way we think about what we do. And so I do think the administrators read the reviews with a respect for the fact there's a lot of training that goes into becoming a critic. But I wish more journalism was also preview oriented to say, why is it important that I attend this particular event? And we used to have that amazing competition between the LA Times and the Register, where you were, you know, we were having previews for everything, and it really helped our audience building. And I miss that.
That was a golden age, all right. David?
Oh, I mean, listen, as a person who, and maybe this is not a great quality, but I spend a lot of time diving in the internal hallways of SCR. I'm happiest when I'm with the people that build the work, and I want the culture inside to be really strong. And and this might also be because I'm a practicing artist, I find Orange County journalism is not brave enough. I feel our arts leaders, this is just from an artistic point of view, are looking for legitimacy of our work outside of where we live. And that's ridiculous, because we're 3 million people that live here. And I hear it all the time, and it sort of drives me crazy, so I'm getting on my soapbox, that who drives the legitimacy for Orange County? And I often feel like people don't have an answer to that and will say the LA Times. And that's fine, maybe, but that's not where we live. I could sometimes get to Vegas faster than I can get to Los Angeles. And so the reality is, what is the measure of quality and trust? Driven by substantial, which, Paul, I know you're taking a very, very good swing at it, but driven by substantial voice of expertise, experience, right? That is not relative to the comparative model that sees the artistic instinct. Judgment, comparison, locks up artists, and in my opinion, just alone institutions, especially ones that are driven toward creativity. So for me, it's actually a braver stance to say, who in journalism here is corralling resources to be the legitimate voice that we are frankly a little nervous by.
Genevieve, I'll let you end the discussion today.
I think I would just say I commend Culture OC because I think you've tried to forge kind of that grouping of critics and journalists in the arts. So I think that was kind of a missing piece. I know OC Register kind of was doing that and then kind of fell by the wayside, and so I think that's been really exciting to see. And I think that's the great thing about Orange County is that there are these organizations and these leaders that can have such an impact and make such an incredible change. So yeah, I think thank Culture OC for being that voice and bringing that journalism to Orange County.
Well, thank you.
And for being prepared, which you always are. Not all journalists are when you come to do interviews and questions. That is a great gift of the work that you continue to
It's
do.
called Journalism 101.
Well, you'd be surprised. I'll just say that.
Well, I want to thank you all for showing up this morning and having some very thoughtful answers to my questions. This was really enjoyable, and I hope to do it again. Thank you for watching this discussion today. This was something we put together to acknowledge and celebrate Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month this April. And check it out. There are lots of things going on here and around the state, free events, arts advocacy in various forms. It's a month to celebrate, so I hope you all do. Thank you.